Look, I want you to stay with me for a moment because what I'm about to explain is something many seniors are hearing right now, and it sounds frightening on the surface. People are being told that Social Security is watching them travel, tracking their movements, monitoring where they go, and quietly deciding whether they deserve their benefits. For some of you, that thought alone is enough to tighten your chest. You worked your whole life, you followed the rules, and now it feels like the rules may be changing without warning. Here is the thing. There is a kernel of truth buried inside a lot of very confusing information. And if no one slows this down and explains it clearly, stress takes over. This is where it gets interesting because for most people listening, this is not what you think it is. But for a small group, there is something you need to understand. Stay with me because by the end, I will give you a simple checklist so you know exactly where you stand and what to do next. My name is Judith Carver. I am a senior protection educator. My role is to help older Americans understand common legal and financial situations so you can avoid confusion, unnecessary fear, and costly mistakes. And remember this as we go forward. Your rights do not expire with age. Now, listen carefully because this is where most of the confusion begins. Social Security is not one single program. It is a system that manages several very different benefit programs, and when people mix them together, panic spreads. A retiree named Harold called me recently after seeing a video online claiming the government was tracking all retirees who leave the country. He told me he had not slept in 2 nights because he was planning to attend his sister's funeral overseas. The emotional consequence of misinformation is real anxiety. The brutal truth is that understanding which program you receive changes everything. Here's the clear statement you need. If you receive Social Security retirement benefits, survivor benefits, or Social Security disability insurance, your travel is not being monitored the way rumors suggest. Let me show you exactly what happened. The recent policy update people are talking about applies primarily to Supplemental Security Income, often called SSI. SSI is not the same as retirement benefits. It is a needs-based assistance program for individuals with very limited income and resources. Most people never notice this distinction, and that is where fear starts. Think about Margaret, age 72, who lives alone and receives SSI because her income is extremely low. SSI has always required strict reporting rules. If income changes, if resources change, or if living arrangements change, it must be reported. Travel has always been part of that responsibility. The emotional consequence for someone like Margaret is vulnerability. She depends on that check. SSI has rules because it is assistance, not earned retirement income. This is the part nobody talks about. For SSI recipients, extended travel outside the United States can affect eligibility. If someone leaves the country for more than a limited period, payments can stop until they return. That is not new. What is new is the method used to verify travel information. Foreign travel data can now be used to help confirm whether SSI recipients remain eligible. Pause for a moment. That sounds scary until you realize it applies only to that specific program. Now, watch out for this. When videos say Social Security is tracking everyone, they are collapsing different programs into one story. That is misleading. For retirees like Frank, who receives Social Security retirement after 40 years as a postal worker, there is no requirement to report short vacations or trips abroad in the way SSI recipients must. The emotional relief when Frank learned this was immediate. He told me he finally felt calm again. The punchline is clarity restores peace. Here is where it gets crazy. People also hear that bank accounts are being monitored. Again, context matters. SSI recipients agree to financial monitoring because eligibility depends on resources. That has been part of the program for decades. For retirement beneficiaries, Social Security does not monitor spending activity. The emotional consequence of believing otherwise is constant suspicion. The short truth is this: retirement benefits are earned, assistance benefits are verified. Stay with me because there is another layer. Some seniors live overseas full time. When someone permanently resides outside the country, Social Security may periodically request proof of life to ensure benefits are not paid after death. This is administrative, not punitive. The untold truth is that the system is trying to prevent overpayments, not punish retirees. For someone like Eleanor, who moved abroad after retirement, understanding this meant fewer surprises and better planning. Do not let them fool you. Fear-based content often suggests future expansions without explaining reality. Yes, policies evolve. Yes, agencies explore new verification tools. But speculation about universal tracking creates stress without solutions. The emotional cost is unnecessary worry. Worry without clarity helps no one. Now, let us talk about who actually needs to pay attention. If you receive SSI, you must understand travel rules, reporting responsibilities, and how long you can be outside the country without affecting benefits. This is where documentation and communication matter. A missed report can result in delayed payments. The emotional consequence is disruption. The short takeaway is preparedness protects you. If you receive retirement benefits, survivor benefits, or disability insurance, your focus should be different. Keep your address updated. Open and read official mail. Verify information before reacting. A retiree named Paul ignored a letter because he assumed it was another scam. That delay caused confusion that could have been avoided. The punchline is engagement prevents escalation. This is where it gets interesting again. Scammers thrive during periods of confusion. They use headlines about tracking, monitoring, and surveillance to frighten seniors into sharing information. Remember this clearly. Government agencies do not call threatening benefit suspension. They do not demand immediate payment. The emotional consequence of falling for this is financial harm. The short rule is verify before you respond. Let me slow this down. Most seniors will never be affected by travel monitoring policies. A small group must understand reporting rules. Everyone must protect themselves from misinformation. That is the balance. Understanding removes fear. Before we close, I promised you a checklist, and I want you to stay with me because this part is where confusion turns into confidence. This is not about memorizing rules. It is about slowing down and orienting yourself so you know exactly where you stand. Start by asking yourself one simple question: what benefit do I actually receive? Many people say Social Security when what they really mean is one of several very different programs. If your benefit comes from retirement, survivor benefits, or disability insurance, your responsibilities are limited and predictable. Your job is to keep your mailing address current, make sure your direct deposit information is accurate, and open every official letter even when it feels uncomfortable. Most people never notice how many problems begin simply because a letter sat unopened on the table. Pause for a moment and remember that official notices are meant to inform, not threaten. Now, if your benefit is supplemental security income, this is where extra attention matters. SSI is needs-based, which means eligibility depends on income, resources, and living situation. Travel is part of that picture. If you plan to leave the country, especially for an extended period, you must notify Social Security ahead of time. Do not guess. Call, document the conversation, write down the date, the name of the representative, and keep that record. This is the part nobody talks about. Good record keeping is not paranoia. It is protection. When questions come up later, your notes become your anchor. Watch out for sensational headlines and videos designed to rush you. If something sounds urgent, alarming, or demands immediate action, that is your cue to slow down. Verify information directly with official sources or a trusted professional. Never share personal information with unsolicited callers, emails, or messages. The emotional consequence of rushing is regret. Time is your ally. Finally, remember this: you are not behind. You are not missing something obvious. Systems are complex by design, and clarity comes from asking the right questions at the right pace. This checklist is not about fear. It is about dignity, stability, and staying in control. Now pause for a moment and breathe. Today was not about surveillance or fear. It was about understanding how different programs work and why confusing them creates unnecessary stress. When you know which rules apply to you, you regain control. You are not powerless. You are informed. That matters. If a situation ever feels legally or financially complex, contact a licensed attorney or qualified professional who can give you advice specific to your circumstances. You deserve calm, clarity, and respect. If this information helped you recognize a pattern or avoid a mistake, share it with a friend, neighbor, or family member who may be quietly worried. Many seniors struggle simply because no one explained this clearly. I read all comments and emails personally, so do not hesitate to reach out. If you find this guidance helpful, like and subscribe so I can continue providing information seniors are coping with every day. Carry that forward with you. Your rights do not expire with age.